The commercial transformation of the Indiana Fever during Clark's rookie season was nothing short of revolutionary. Season ticket sales increased by over 400% following her draft selection, forcing the team to consistently sell out Gainbridge Fieldhouse and creating an atmosphere previously unseen in women's professional basketball. Television viewership for games featuring Clark regularly exceeded 1 million viewers, with some broadcasts reaching over 2 million viewers, representing historic highs for women's basketball and fundamentally altering the league's media landscape. One has to wonder how this level of commercial success and fan engagement might influence coaching decisions and organizational philosophy. Legal experts note that when individual players generate such dramatic revenue increases and cultural impact, their satisfaction and input often become critical factors in franchise planning and personnel decisions. The situation leaves room for speculation about whether Clark's perspectives on coaching and team direction carry weight that extends beyond typical player input. The relationship between star players and coaching staff often determines both individual career trajectories and franchise success in professional sports. Clark's adjustment to professional basketball under Side's guidance required navigation of the transition from college autonomy at the University of Iowa under coach Lisa Bluer to the more structured systems typical of professional basketball. This adaptation process created visible learning moments throughout the season as both player and coach adjusted their approaches to maximize team success. During the season, basketball analysts closely watched the interactions between Clark and Sides during games, timeouts, and press conferences for signs of their working relationship and compatibility. These observations became subjects of intense media analysis and fan speculation, with every gesture and conversation scrutinized for insights into their professional dynamic. The coaching philosophy differences between college and professional basketball created additional adjustment challenges that required ongoing communication and adaptation from both parties. Sports psychologists note that the relationship between a franchise player and head coach becomes particularly crucial during a player's early professional years when habits, expectations, and professional identity are still forming. The coaching approach during this foundational period can significantly influence a player's long-term career trajectory and satisfaction with their professional situation. Questions arise about how this relationship might evolve as Clark's career progresses and her expectations for team success continue to develop. The Indiana Fever organization experienced unprecedented growth and transformation during Clark's rookie season, evolving from one of the WNBA's least visible franchises to its most commercially successful and culturally relevant team. This dramatic change created both opportunities and pressures that the organization had never previously experienced, requiring adaptation at every level, from front office operations to fan engagement strategies. Corporate sponsorship deals and local business partnerships increased dramatically as companies specifically sought association with the Fever brand. Due to Clark's marketability and the team's elevated profile, the franchise went from struggling to secure local sponsors to managing waiting lists of businesses wanting partnership opportunities with the organization. This commercial success created new revenue streams and business relationships that have become integral to the franchise's financial stability and long-term planning. The organizational culture shift required to accommodate this level of success and attention presented unique challenges for team management. The franchise had to adapt its operations to handle increased media coverage, fan engagement, security requirements, and business partnerships while maintaining focus on basketball performance and player development. These adjustments required coordination between multiple departments and stakeholders who had never dealt with such intense public interest and commercial activity. Legal experts wonder whether this dramatic organizational transformation might influence how coaching and personnel decisions are evaluated, as the franchise now operates in a completely different commercial and cultural environment than it did before Clark's arrival. The implications could suggest that traditional basketball evaluation criteria might need to be balanced with broader organizational considerations that reflect the team's new status and expectations. The modern WNBA has evolved to a point where star players possess significant influence over organizational culture and decision-making processes, reflecting broader trends in professional sports toward increased athlete empowerment. This shift has been accelerated by social media platforms that allow players to communicate directly with fans and build personal brands independent of their team affiliations, creating new dynamics in player-franchise relationships. Clark's social media presence and public statements are closely monitored by media and fans for insights into her perspectives on team direction, coaching relationships, and organizational culture. Her ability to communicate directly with millions of followers creates opportunities for influence that extend beyond traditional player roles and into areas of organizational messaging and fan engagement. This platform provides leverage that wasn't available to previous generations of women's basketball players. The success of Clark's rookie season has demonstrated that individual players can dramatically impact league-wide attendance, viewership, and commercial success, creating new expectations for how franchises approach star-player relationships. The commercial value she brings to the organization likely influences how her preferences and input are considered in organizational planning and personnel decisions. Sports business experts note that when players generate such significant revenue and cultural impact, their satisfaction becomes a critical business consideration. Questions arise about how this level of player influence might affect traditional coaching authority and team management structures. The balance between player input and organizational decision-making requires careful navigation to maintain competitive effectiveness while ensuring that star players feel valued and engaged in the team's direction and culture. The coaching profession in women's basketball has evolved significantly as the sport has gained commercial value and media attention, creating new pressures and expectations for coaches who work with high-profile players. Modern coaches must balance traditional basketball strategy and player development with media management, brand building, and the unique challenges that come with coaching players who have substantial public profiles and commercial value. Coaches working with generational talents like Clark face the challenge of maximizing individual player development while building team chemistry and competitive success. This balance becomes more complex when the star player generates most of the team's attention and commercial success, creating dynamics that require careful management to ensure all players feel valued and engaged in the team's success. The media scrutiny faced by coaches in high-profile situations extends beyond traditional basketball analysis to include evaluation of their communication skills, player relationships, and ability to manage the external pressures that come with coaching marquee players. These additional responsibilities require skill sets that weren't traditionally expected of basketball coaches and can influence career trajectories and job security. Professional development opportunities for coaches have expanded to include training and media relations, player psychology, and business aspects of sports that reflect the evolving demands of coaching elite players in commercially successful franchises. The coaching profession continues to adapt to these changing requirements as women's basketball grows in popularity and commercial value. The financial implications of coaching decisions and franchises built around star players extend far beyond traditional basketball considerations to include impacts on ticket sales, merchandise revenue, sponsorship deals, and television ratings. When individual players drive such significant commercial success, coaching changes can have substantial business consequences that influence organizational decision-making processes. The Indiana Fever's financial transformation during Clark's rookie season created new stakeholders and business relationships that have interest in maintaining the commercial success and fan engagement that she generates. These business considerations likely influence how coaching evaluations are conducted and what criteria are prioritized when making personnel decisions that could affect the franchise's commercial position. Revenue sharing within the WNBA means that Clark's impact on league-wide television ratings and commercial success benefits all teams, creating league-wide interest in maintaining her satisfaction and ensuring her continued participation and success. This broader interest could influence how the league office views coaching situations involving marquee players and whether they provide input or guidance on personnel decisions. Corporate sponsors and media partners often prefer stability and positive narratives around star players. As these storylines align better with brand values and marketing objectives, the potential business impact of coaching changes involving high-profile players creates additional pressure on franchises to carefully consider all stakeholder interests when making personnel decisions. The evolution of women's basketball has created new opportunities for players to build careers that extend beyond their playing years through media appearances, endorsement deals, business ventures, and advocacy work. These opportunities often depend on maintaining positive public profiles and strong relationships with media, fans, and business partners throughout their playing careers. Clark's marketability and cultural impact have created opportunities for her to build a personal brand that transcends basketball, including endorsement deals, media appearances, and advocacy work that could provide long-term career benefits. Maintaining positive relationships and public perception becomes important for protecting and developing these opportunities throughout her professional career. The intersection of athletic performance and personal branding requires careful navigation of public statements, media appearances, and professional relationships. Players must balance honesty and authenticity with professional diplomacy and organizational loyalty, particularly when addressing potentially controversial topics or organizational decisions. Questions arise about how players balance their individual career interests with team loyalty and organizational relationships when those interests might conflict. The modern sports landscape provides players with more options and leverage than previous generations, creating new dynamics in how they approach professional relationships and career decisions. Women's basketball has historically been characterized by strong cultures of mutual support and advocacy among players, coaches, and organizations working to grow the sport and create opportunities for future generations. This collaborative approach has contributed to the sport's recent growth and success while creating expectations for how conflicts and disagreements should be handled within the community. The leadership traditions established by previous generations of women's basketball stars have emphasized the importance of using platform and influence to support the broader growth of women's sports rather than purely individual advancement. These traditions create cultural expectations for how current stars should approach their relationships with teams, coaches, and the broader basketball community. Clark's position as a generational talent and cultural figure creates opportunities and responsibilities for leadership that extend beyond her individual career to include influence over the sport's continued development and growth. How she navigates professional relationships and organizational challenges could establish precedents for future stars and influence the culture of women's professional basketball. The balance between individual career optimization and broader sport advancement requires careful consideration of how public statements and professional decisions might impact not just individual success, but also the continued growth and positive perception of women's basketball as a whole. As Clark's career continues to develop, questions remain about how her relationship with the Indiana Fever organization will evolve and what role her input and preferences will play in organizational decision-making. The precedents established through her early professional years could influence how other franchises approach relationships with star players and how much input elite athletes have in organizational culture and personnel decisions. The resolution of coaching questions and organizational culture issues within the Indiana Fever will likely establish important precedents for how WNBA franchises balance star player satisfaction with traditional organizational authority and decision-making processes. These precedents could influence how other teams approach similar situations as women's basketball continues to grow in commercial value and cultural significance. The broader implications for women's professional sports include questions about how increased commercial success and player empowerment will influence traditional organizational structures and decision-making processes. The outcomes of high-profile player-organization relationships could establish new standards for how elite female athletes are integrated into organizational planning and personnel decisions. Sports analysts wonder whether the current period represents a fundamental shift in how women's professional sports operate or whether traditional organizational structures will ultimately reassert themselves as the sports become more established commercially. The balance between player influence and organizational authority continues to evolve as women's sports gain commercial value and cultural significance. If you're as intrigued by these coaching developments as we are, go ahead and like this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think Caitlin Clark should prioritize in her relationship with the Indiana Fever coaching staff? How much input should star players have in coaching decisions? We want to hear your perspective on how elite athletes should navigate organizational relationships while building their careers. Then hit subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss our coverage of women's basketball and the evolving dynamics of professional sports. Thanks for watching.